Access control flows. Another type of flow that's not necessarily restricted to PHP applications but is important nonetheless is the access control type of vulnerability. This flow rears its head when you have certain sections of your application that must be restricted to certain users. You should check the user's access privileges upon every load of a restricted page. If you check users' credentials on the index page only, malicious users could directly enter a URL to a deeper page which would bypass credential checking. Use PHP include function to include configuration file from a directory that's not web accessible. Possibly include an .htaccess file containing deny for all, just in case the directory is ever made web accessible by administrator error. In this directory structure, function libraries, classes and configuration files are stored in include directory. Never ever made a backup of a PHP file in your web expose directory by adding .back or another extension to the file name. That information would be readable. It could even end up being indexed by Google if Spider stumbled upon it. SQL injection vulnerabilities. SQL injection vulnerabilities are yet another class of input validation flaws. Especially, they allow for the exploitation of a database query. For example, in a PHP script, you might ask a user for a user ID and a password. Then check for user by passing the database a query and checking the result. However, if the user is devious, he will pass OR1 equals 1 as password. This will not validate the password and return to username. To stop this problem, you need to escape dangerous characters from the user's submitted values, most particularly the single quotes. The simplest way to do this is to use PHP's add slashes function as like this here. But depending on your PHP configuration, this may not be necessary. PHP's much revealed magic quotes feature is enabled by default in current versions of PHP. The feature, which can be disabled by setting the magic quotes gpc php.ini variable to off, will automatically apply add slashes to all values submitted via get and post or cookies. This feature safeguards against inexperienced developers who might otherwise leave security holes like the one described above. But it has an unfortunate impact on performance when input values do not need to be escaped for use in database queries. Research to be continued. Site defacement, session ID protection and cross-site scripting flaws will be demonstrated in the next series of videos. Next, the security features of C# will be discussed.